Hello there, my name is Ola. I was born and raised in a beautiful country in Eastern Europe. That is a country with wild forests, mysterious mountains, endless rivers, lakes, valleys, and with very brave people. That country is Ukraine. I believe that most of the people on this earth deeply love the place where they belong, and I do, with all my heart. Despite all the challenges and hardships we have faced in our homeland, we love it just endlessly, because it also made us who we are today. That's so cliché, I know, but it's true. As humans, we tend to feel connected to the environment, nature, or community. The first connection we build, and it goes through all our life, is connection to our family and to the culture we grew up in. Most of my life I spent in a little village surrounded by forests in the northern west of Ukraine. In my childhood, I was fascinated by our local folk stories and legends about all the mysterious creatures and spirits living in the forests. I always found ordinary life a little bit boring and depressing, so these stories were my escape. As we spent a lot of time in the forests, I like to think of these creatures as alive and real. When I was 17, I left my home to study, and at 22, I found myself living in a big city with a few years of work in a big corporate world behind. That was the period in my life when I completely lost my connection to all the things I love. But I barely had time to think about it. Being an anxious person, I found myself placing my job higher than my free time, my family, and even my health. I can't say that I completely regret that time, because it also gave me a lot of experience and led me to the place where I am now. Though I think that the corporate world is quite a dangerous place for young people. Being young who just stepped into adult life, we are ready to fight for our place under the sun, and we completely throw ourselves into the corporate fire. As young adults who haven't yet learned the value of our free time and rest, we have no set boundaries between work and life. So we just burn in this fire, and it often ends up with losing our passion. At such point of my life, I faced a lot of uncertainties around me, in my career, in my life, and mostly in my future. That was time to change something. I did some traveling, and it affected me so much. I didn't travel a lot though, but it gave me the feeling that the world is not so scary and is not limited by the borders of my country on a map. It also gave me the courage to be honest with myself and to choose what is better for me. February 24 was the day when I moved to Finland. And February 24 was also the day when 2 years after my home country was invaded and my people faced the war. I'm endlessly grateful to be in Finland, but my heart hurts so much to know what people in my home country are going through right now. The events of the last year opened to me how strong is my emotional connection with my homeland and how rapidly life can change just in one moment. There was a lot of fear, panic and despair in the last year, but also hope, pride, gratitude, faith and love in humanity. I deeply believe that if we all together will stand for the truth and for what is right, then kindness will prevail and the bright side will win for sure. I heard many stories from people who moved that they lost the sense of home and couldn't fit anymore, neither in their native country nor in the new country. I was afraid of that too. But after 3 years of living in Finland and coming back home a year ago, I feel like I belong to both. Both I call home and both are and will be in my heart forever. And though I know that the next time I visit Ukraine I will be stunned how much everything has changed, but it will still be my home. That's the place where I was born, where my family lives, and where I always be accepted. Somehow Finland started to feel like my second home very quickly. I don't know, maybe that is because I started to spend a lot of time out in nature after moving. I bought my bike literally in the first month here, and cycling outside the city is my favorite thing to do. For some reason, when I'm in nature, alone with the forest or with the sea, the world feels real and much more simple to me. It's easy to be connected with nature in Finland. I live in an urban area, yet we are surrounded by forests and lakes. There is not too much noise here and the nature is just gorgeous. I never considered my chance to live in Finland as granted, because both me and my husband put in so much effort to get our residence permits, and it wasn't easy. But now I think that we are so very lucky to be here, and moving to Finland 3 years ago was literally life-saving. Hey there, I hope you are doing great. As I mentioned in my previous video, there is a water pipe renovation in our apartment, so we are now in our landlord's guest house. I'm sitting here in the basement and my husband Oleg is on the floor above. I hope the camera will not catch the sound of his keyboard. As we work from home, we took both of our computers with us, and Oleg has this quite annoying mechanical keyboard. It's funny because I gifted it to him by myself, but usually it doesn't bother me that much because we work from different rooms. So yeah, this place is very lovely and I can feel all the love that was put into building and decorating it. But honestly, this place makes me a bit sad. There is a huge table in the main room and looking at it I imagine a big family gathering around, telling stories and laughing. It reminds me of my parents' house and the times when all my big family gathered around one table. That's how we used to celebrate big holidays like Christmas or Easter. But in the past 3 years everything turned upside down, and looking back now I can say that COVID wasn't the worst thing that happened in our life. I can't visit my family because of the war, and I know that until the end of the war my family will not visit me either. My parents live in a village not far from the northern border, and there is a lot of talking now about a possible new invasion from that side. It's easy to say that they must just leave, but they can't abandon their house. They have a lot of animals and their whole life goes around that place. My mom said that she can't even leave home for a week because no one knows what may happen in this time. Yeah, we all can't wait until this nightmare will end. But coming back to this place, it's very cozy. I'm not going to film it because I want to respect the privacy of its owners. Of course, there is a sauna, and it's so good to visit it after a long working day or after coming from outside. We have a sauna in the building where we live as well, but it's shared, and we have our personal shift once a week for half an hour. So yeah, it's good to have a sauna here and not to be limited in time. Yesterday evening we took a ride to our apartment. It was quite a stressful drive. The road was very slippery and it started snowing. It was beautiful, but yeah, a bit stressful. We wanted to check our apartment and how the renovation is going. Everything was fine, it was impressively clean, so there is no need to worry.
3 kilometers. Take the interchange on the right.
We spent 10 beautiful days in the cabin. It was so cozy, and when we came back home, I had this urgent desire to make our apartment feel more homey and lovely. We got a bunch of warm and sunny days, and I was fooled by the weather. I started preparing my balcony for the spring, and I even planted some seeds already. I still didn't have a complete plan of what I want to grow on my balcony this year, so I simply chose radishes and lettuce to plant now, since these crops may be harvested in a month and the free space could be used for other plants. I also saved a few tomato fruits from the plants I grew on my balcony last year. I extracted seeds and just put them into soil. I wasn't sure if it worked this way, but jumping ahead, I can say that they sprouted pretty well, and now I have a few healthy tomato seedlings growing. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also thank you for all your comments and feedback. It really does mean the world to me. I appreciate every single one of you. Take care, and I wish you a lovely beginning of spring.